Hi. So I have some thoughts that I really want to talk about in regards to The Incredibles 2. Now, right off the bat, I want to say I have a hard time criticizing anything Brad Bird does because he is a genius. He is such an amazing animator, director, storyteller, artist, but nobody is perfect, and I think The Incredibles 2 is not one of his best projects. I have a lot of issues with this movie, but there's a couple of things that I really want to focus on, especially two or three lines of dialogue that for some reason just really bother me. And both of the lines come from Mrs. Incredible, actually. The first one is right at the beginning of the movie, when they're doing the whole scene from Tony's perspective, when he goes to hide under the car and the Parr family run up beside the car and he overhears them. And Mrs. Incredible says,
"Wait, should we be doing this? It is still illegal."
That line hit me so weird, even the first time watching this movie, because there are so many questions that single line brought up in my mind. Like, if you were unsure about whether you wanted to do hero work or not, why are you wearing your suit under your clothes? It doesn't make sense to me that if that was something she was questioning or even was opposed to doing illegal hero work, why would she be wearing her suit under her clothes? And her whole family, for that matter. And so the movie has just barely started, and I'm already getting the impression that this movie does not have its bearings. Like, what do you want? Are you going to be changing things we established? Why are your characters already contradicting themselves when we're like 5 minutes into the movie? Also, something that doesn't make sense, kind of along with that, is does that imply that since the end of the first movie, they haven't done any hero work at all? Because why would she be like, wait, should we really be doing hero work if they had been doing hero work before that? So that makes me think that they haven't been doing any superhero work, and because of that implication, like this is their first time that they might be doing superhero work after the end of the first movie, right when they do start going for the Underminer, Bob and Helen and Violet all show abilities we've never seen before. Bob and Helen do the whole like trampoline thing where he like jumps off of her, which is really cool, but like in the olden days they didn't really fight together and didn't really coordinate. Like, when did they learn that trick? I don't know, maybe you could say they just have instinct, they've been together so long they could figure it out. But then there's like Violet, where she does that brand new thing we've never seen where she like throws her shields. When did she learn that? Because in the first movie she had barely just started to get a grasp of her powers. She hadn't really been using them, so she was just starting to figure out what she could do. And so if this is their first time fighting after the last movie, when did she learn that? Because of Mrs. Incredible's line, I am getting the impression they have not done any fighting between the end of the first movie and the beginning of the second one. So for Violet just to bust out this new power when she's been so reserved before this just makes no sense to me and makes me think of a lot of questions, and just overall makes me question if the movie makers really thought through this. The second line of dialogue that I do not like that comes from Mrs. Incredible is after she has already started working for Dever. She's on her bike waiting for some trouble to be able to go and save the day, and she says,
You know, after we went underground, my husband used to listen to a police scanner, waiting for something to happen, and I got mad at him for it. Oh, I'm such a hypocrite.
I do not like this line at all. To me, it completely undercuts one of the big messages from the first movie, which was Mr. Incredible had his priorities wrong. He was wanting to relive his superhero days and he was not prioritizing his family. And the argument scene that Helen and Bob have in their front room late at night is one of the best scenes in that movie, just from like a writing and story standpoint. And visually too, how they're able to illustrate it. It is a great scene. And it really does sum up and project forward Bob's arc, where it is just like he should not be focusing on superhero work. It's endangering his family, putting them at risk. He needs to not do that. And so for Helen in this scene to be like, oh, I got mad at him, I'm such a hypocrite, I'm doing that now, just makes me think like, okay, so you're saying that there isn't anything wrong with doing that? You mean Bob was fine in the first movie? That like nulls the whole movie. That was the point. So that line really bothers me. And just with Helen's character, because in the first one, she knew where her priorities were at. And so honestly, it felt a little bit sudden and forced in this one for her to just suddenly change her mind like, oh yeah, I'll go start doing illegal crime. Sure. When it did not coincide with the character they established in the first one, and just in this one, it did just seem quite abrupt that she decided to suddenly start going down this path that Bob was in the first movie. So that line just seemed very out of character. It kind of seemed out of nowhere. It seemed like it was supposed to just kind of be excusing what she was doing in the moment, and we were supposed to just be like, oh, okay, move past it and move on, which normally probably would have worked. But for me, when I heard that, it just made me kind of mad, because I feel like that took a lot of the credibility away from the first movie, and the message and the story that they went with for that one, it just like undid it, and I did not like that at all. And maybe I don't understand everything perfectly well, like, you know, the politics behind it and everything, and the motivations behind why she's doing what she's doing. But that actually kind of leads me into another small complaint I have about this movie, which is I feel like it is made for adults, but let me expound on that and explain what I mean. Brad Bird has been very vocal in the past about how he doesn't make movies for kids or for adults. He just makes good movies, with good stories that anyone can watch. He has said very specifically he does not make kids movies. And that really makes a lot of sense if you look at his work. Like, even just looking at the first Incredibles, like, there are a lot of adult, like, grown-up themes, like, oh, their marriage is in trouble, he has to deal with his job and finances, and just being an adult, like him dealing with being overweight, just things that adults appreciate and kids wouldn't necessarily, but the movie is still so entertaining for both kids and adults. He has really nailed that balance, and I love it. But I think with The Incredibles 2, he didn't quite nail it, because I feel like so many of the themes and dialogue and everything is aimed more for grown-ups. Like, there is so much of the story that has to do with insurance and things like that that's not interesting to kids, and honestly not very interesting to me, but and it gets complicated enough to where I am kind of just like, who is this movie made for? What am I supposed to be thinking while watching it? I don't know. So I feel like that amazing line that he has been able to walk for almost all of his movies of just making family friendly and family enjoyable movies, he did not nail it with this one, where I felt like it was much more aimed for adults, but I didn't like it as an adult. I have many more thoughts on this movie that I could talk about, but I honestly just needed to vent and get those out. I am going to cut it here. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye. Yeah, no, I'm just finishing up. Say hi.
Hi. What about what they call again? The sucks all blood?
Oh, mosquito?
Mosquitoes.
Is that how you do a mosquito?
That got our mosquito.
Oh no.
You got my mosquito?
Yeah.
That's good.
What about you do the butterfly, I be the mosquito.
Okay.
I love you guys.
I love you.
I older you. You know why I love you?
Why?
Because I got a bigger face than you.
That makes you older?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Your tapping was falling.
Yeah, let's stop. Let's stop. Let's go upstairs and eat some muffins or something. Okay, let's go.
No, you're not.